So then I just want to bring up any of my other topics here that I wanted to cover. And I also want to talk about very briefly, apparently there is, the Epstein arrest has to do with, the pedophilia. And the pedophilia actually gets back into the reptilian bloodlines, reptilians and grays, what they're doing here on the planet, something Mark Richards has talked extensively about, and I've made public, and also the fact that they have been plundering humanity, using us as slaves, sex slaves, for food, for what they call louche, which is an aphrodisiac from the glands, our glands, and so on, and taking us off planet to use on slave colonies, etc. All of this is an ongoing thing, and this is what the government doesn't want you to know. That involves Satanism. It involves what is called, Luciferianism, as well as basically pedophile rings, plundering children, human trafficking going on Earth, and why it has an ET origin. So that whole story was also backed up not only by Mark Richards, but also my 3-hour interview with William Tompkins. He was well aware of all of this. He stated that Robert Wood of the Majestic 12 documents, also was very aware of all of this, and yet they were stopped from speaking out about it, even though they wanted to. And that's when basically William Tompkins died shortly after he changed his mind about doing a second interview with me and told me he could never speak to me again. He was told not to talk to me because I guess they were afraid that he was going to spill the beans about the whole, pedophilia, child trafficking, etc. ring that actually goes back to Epstein and others like him. It's a huge network. Certainly, at the moment, Epstein is being thrown to the wolves, it would appear, or there's an attempt to do so. How far that's going to go, I don't know. It looks like George Webb is putting some things together, so you could watch his videos. There's a recent interview, by the way, with Captain Mark Richards, in audio of all things, something I'm not allowed to do in the prison. But apparently this organization of the prisons was able to get in to allow these people in, Council for the Arts in association with the prison. It's a very short 7-minute interview, but he is being interviewed about his time as an officer in Vietnam, although they don't ask him any detail about him at all. So you do get to hear him, his voice finally, and you do get to see a photograph, a relatively recent photograph that was taken in the prison during the interview. So that's all on my website as well, and very good for Mark that this actually serendipity happened rather recently, and so it was broadcast on a San Francisco radio station, but it was released care of the prison management, I guess. I also want to say that the Epstein link, George Webb is also talking about a link to the children, trafficking, human trafficking with children in Kosovo and Bosnia. I also say that I guess Serbia was also very involved in Syria, is a recent place where they are doing this kind of plundering and taking races of humans off planet, etc. These are the aliens coming here under the cover of war. And then there is also the suspicious fire on the Russian sub. I did try to get a certain person to come on my show to talk about it, but he decided that he'd rather talk to MUFON. And when I told him that MUFON was handled by the CIA, he seemed to prefer that, so that's his prerogative, and unfortunate, I have to say. But at any rate, there were several officers, on a very unusual number of officers, and Simon Parkes did cover this to some degree on his own recent broadcast. And I think, a lot of Simon's information on that seemed to be quite accurate from my point of view. But I was also thinking that this was a possible rogue operation that was, in essence, even what you might say a coup against Putin, and an effort to possibly cause a start to World War III by these officers who went rogue. They were obviously killed by their own people, in essence. Then there is something interesting going on at Project Avalon, the forum that's run by my ex-partner Bill Ryan, and apparently a QAnon group. Not sure if it is just a bunch of QAnon wannabes or QAnon groupies or QAnon fans, or a mixture of QAnon and their fans. I have no idea. Trying to get to the bottom of that. But they seem to have infiltrated the Avalon Forum and created a secret cell within it. So there's a bit of subterfuge and drama going on over there. A bunch of mods apparently quit. Tommy, my ex-webmaster, was tapped to try to set the thing right on the technical level. And so that's something going on behind the scenes. I did a recent interview with John Lear, and he basically is very rude to me at a certain point, and he basically tells me to shut up when I'm in the process of asking him a very direct question. Apparently he didn't like the question, is the reality, and that is because within that question was an implied answer in which I was asking him about the admiral, the rear admiral, who back in '97 was going above or behind his superior officer's back, if you want to believe that. Otherwise, you have to accept the notion that his superior officer put him up to it, meaning becoming a rebel and trying to find out about a secret space program project that was hidden by our government within a secret part of our government. And that is the secret space program. So John didn't want to go there, and he also seems to have been told to shut up and been threatened, and I have this from also a secret witness. His family may be in danger, so I do understand it is putting him on edge. Apparently he's already said too much. They want him to shut up. And so he's backtracking, and all of a sudden he said what is in essence that there is no secret space program, that humans have never gone beyond low Earth orbit. And it's unbelievable that he's going sort of backwards in this way, and really a tragedy, regardless of whatever threats he's getting. And then exactly 1 week later, I got the same sort of philosophy mouthed by Miles Johnston, who should know a lot better. I mean, of course, John knows better as well, but these guys are told, like, I guess, are being told to shut up and clamp it down or whatever it is. And apparently Miles Johnston also got the word. And so Miles suddenly was saying humans have only gone into low Earth orbit, which is complete nonsense and obvious. The fact they both used the same exact phrase indicates to me that they were both being programmed. So that is really interesting. And there's, in other words, at the same time, they put out this Admiral Wilson release of documents, which kind of validates the existence of the secret space program and the existence of reverse engineering alien tech. They are at the same time trying to get two key leading witnesses, or leaders in the field, to basically say we've only gone into low Earth orbit. So they are obviously running scared, and that is just ridiculous and incredible. So I think that might sum up everything, and I I have more things probably to talk about, but I'm looking to see if there's anything else right off the bat here that might be useful. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So I want to say that thank you very much for supporting Project Camelot. We are going to be broadcasting, as I say, from my other channel and then having to download the show once it's done, putting it on my main channel. So that will be a two-step process and slow us down a tiny bit, but we will continue and plow through. And I am going to hope to interview Ray Santilli. I've invited him on the show to say his side of the story. I also invited, as I say, this person called Spiros Malaris on the show, but he has refused to come on the show. And I'm going to have Colin Wolford back, although I'm insisting that Colin use no pictures. So it'll be up to the listeners to do their own research, go and look for the pictures and the various footage out there, regardless of who owns it. And Miles Johnson said some good things about this in my discussion with him off the record, just saying that the fact there was a phone in the room of the alien autopsy indicates it wasn't a clean room, and that was a giveaway, and there was something else. And it is interesting, there's another release of documents having to do with Kit Green, who is, again, CIA, very high up, works very closely with Ron Pandolfi and Hal Puthoff, again, these major players. And he apparently, either they're fake documents or real, in which way back, I don't know if it's 2002, whenever it was, but I do have a copy of the documents. They're on the internet as well, in which he was actually saying the alien autopsy was real. The bottom line is that there are lots of alien autopsies. The one that may be fake, and maybe it faked twice, or the film may be faked and the actual autopsy may be real, or the film may be faked, the autopsy may be faked, but there may be real footage somewhere that the Navy has, obviously. So there's lots of sides to this story. I can say that when I interviewed Colin Wolford, we were thrown off the internet by YouTube. In other words, we were still online, so there was no problem with my internet or his internet. We were still talking on Skype. In fact, I recorded it. I put that online, but it's now taken down because of this strike against me. But nonetheless, we continued our conversation, even though YouTube threw us off. And the reason I believe YouTube threw us off is they always interfere with me if they don't want what's being said to be out there. Now, why don't the powers that be want information coming from me and Colin about the alien autopsy out there if it's fake? You've got to wrap your mind around that, okay? So if it's fake, who cares who talks about it? Who cares who owns it? Because it's a lie. It's meaningless. And some people like to take pride in lies and faking stuff, so they want to say they own it. That's like, I don't know, Penn and Teller or something. That's just crazy in my world. But that's what's going on. Now, there are people that have dissected alien bodies, no doubt about it. And I know there's one person who's out on the sector right now. His name is escaping me. I haven't had a chance to interview him. Not sure what his affiliations are, but he was very involved in the Gaiam TV Wilcock situation, and so I'm pretty much staying clear of that. We did disclose the truth about that situation, the Corey Good situation, in 2015, believe it or not, long before Jay Weidner ever had the slightest notion that he was being played. And he has now come out and said he has been played. And you can see Jay Weidner's channel for those videos. I can say that Jay Weidner is covering for the owner of Gaiam, who was much more instrumental in seeing that those individuals were able to have countless number of shows talking about countless number of things, some of which may or may not be true. So it's a wild, crazy time, as you can appreciate, and I hope you can get a chance to watch this video, and I'll be back hopefully to do an overview of my presentation on the Admiral Wilson information, just because I think analyzing documents, true or false, is a great exercise for us to go through, because there will be more of them come to the fore in the future. So exercising those talents is not wasted time. Thank you again for listening and for watching, and for supporting Project Camelot. Take care. Bye-bye.